Half Dozen Customs. We're back out here on the Jeep today. We left off over the weekend with getting the door jambs primed and getting the passenger side interior of the door primed. All that came out good. Super happy with it. So now we're gonna pull the front end off and we're gonna get the firewall primed. Before I do any of that, we have these welds right here on top of this grill on both sides. There was cracks there. You could tell that it had been welded previously, and those welds had cracked. So I re-welded them up. Now I'm just gonna clean those up real quick. I think it's easier to clean up when it's mounted to the truck than it is when it's off. So we'll get those cleaned up real quick, take a couple minutes, and then we can start pulling this front end apart. I cut our pad into a square. It makes it a little easier to get into little crannies, little curves, which is what we got here. So alright, so we got those grinded up. I had to drain the compressor a little bit so that it would stop leaking everywhere. I do have everything here finally. I've been waiting a couple weeks for parts to get here to fix the air compressor, so they're here now. But so we're getting ready to take this stuff apart. I marked, you can see my mark here, so we're going to open this up and widen it up a little bit. It's either we widen it up or I remake that. And I was talking with the owner of the truck and he said to just widen it up. Said that he would rather have it wider and easier access to that radiator cap anyways, compared to how I had it before, which you could access it and it was removable, but it was a tight fit. I was trying to keep it tight and clean, and he said he would rather have it more open and accessible than tight and clean. So we're not gonna remake that top piece. We're just gonna trim it up a little bit and make that one work. But we got it marked up, so I can pull that off now. We can remove the radiator again. Next time this should all go back together, it'll be all jammed out and primed and ready for paint. So Okay, so we got pretty much all the way around there cleaned up, ready to go. We got around the brake booster cleaned up. I still got to clean up this pocket a little bit. He's got a little bit of surface rust on there. I just got to get the wire wheel on the drill and go in there and hit that. It's already been all sandblasted, so it's just surface. And then I still got to run over it with the 180, which I just got. I'm just going to take a piece of 180 DA paper by hand and just, lightly run over everything, make sure it's all cleaned up, and then we'll start taping it off. So I'll be back when it's time to tape it off. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see those, but like I papered off the frame rails under the truck. I laid under the truck, I wiped the frame rails down, got all the dust off of them, and wrapped them in paper. Figured there wasn't much to see for me doing that, so I did that off camera. Just taping off, like I taped off this brake line here, taping off the body mounts up here, taped off around the top of the steering column. We're going to wrap these frame rails and the steering column and all that in paper. I'm gonna kick on the heat, get it nice and toasty in here, and I'm gonna mix up some primer. We're gonna get this primed. Okay, so we got it all ready. I got it nice and warm in here. I got some primer in the gun. I'm gonna do what I normally do. I'll start priming. Excuse me. I'll start priming, and then I'm gonna shut you guys down and get you guys out of the chemicals and overspray and all that stuff, and I'll bring you guys back in when we're all done. I'm going to kind of step into the engine compartment there, and we're gonna get a couple of coats down on the bottom, and then I'm gonna come up just for now with primer. I'm gonna lift these up. I'll shoot some primer on each side. We'll drop them down. When we actually go to paint them, we'll wire them up. But like I said, I'm gonna get the bottom done first and get the hinges done, and then that way I can get the rest of it done without having to step in and worry about touching anything. So we'll get the hard stuff done, and then we'll come out and we'll do the easy stuff. So let's get some primer on this. Enough talking. Okay, I'm gonna get another coat at least down on that bottom before we move up to the top, but I'm gonna shut you guys off. Down on the bottom where we just primed everything, that's gonna get a tape line that follows the body line down and around the trans tunnel and everything. And that lower section is gonna get undercoated with the floor. And only the top section from this body line up is gonna get blue. So I don't need to make sure that it's perfect down there because it's just getting undercoated. We're just getting primer on it so that, you know, we're not just undercoating over bare metal. So as long as I get a couple coats down there, we're good. And then the top section, you know, we'll get, you know, 4 coats on there. So I'll see you guys when we're all done. All right, we're back. It's primed. I think it looks good. I'm happy with it. There's a couple spots I got a couple extra coats, like this area right in here, which if you guys remember, it was hammered in for some reason. I think maybe to clear a motor or something that they may have had in here at one point. We straightened and pulled all that out, and so that area was a little rougher than I would like, but it got a couple extra coats. I think we'll be fine with it. Other than that, it looks really good. And we are gonna work on getting this grill cleaned up. Now the outside we've already stripped and cleaned up, but we need to do some work on the inside as well. Outside needs to be just gone over again. You know, it's been a couple months since we stripped it, but like you know, a couple of these holes here, I'll have to line them up, are for our new radiator support mounts. But you can see there's just multiple holes in the side there. This one looks like it's going to be factory. That one is not, so we'll weld that one up. You know, we got a little crack here. We're going to weld that up. I'm going to leave this hole on both sides. They look like they're the same. They match. I don't know if they're factory, but I think that we can utilize that hole for the headlight wire clip to push in. These are about to break off. That one's already busted. We're just gonna cut those off, get rid of them. I'll probably sandblast in there, just get that cleaned up. You know, we're gonna weld up all the holes on this side except for the ones that we need for the radiator mount, and this one for headlight mounting clip. And then we're basically just going to scuff it up, sand it up. You know, I see there's a couple of runs here, so we'll take those runs out of there. But I'm not planning on stripping the inside of this grill. We're just gonna weld up all the holes. We'll body work where those holes were. And then scuff and clean it up and get it ready for primer. So let's see how far we can get today. Hopefully we can get this thing primed up today. That would be awesome. And then tomorrow we could come out, flip it over, and prime up the outside of it. So we'll see how long it takes to get this cleaned up, but you know, at least we have somewhat of a goal to reach. So if we can, in the next couple days, if we can get this thing all primed up, that'd be awesome. And then we'll start on the fenders. So I'm gonna leave these holes. I don't know if they're factory holes, but they look to be in the same spot. They're clean holes. And originally I was going to use these holes to help hold down that aluminum piece. And if for some reason, say we get the vehicle running and that aluminum piece starts rattling, we can drill a hole in that aluminum piece and we can bolt it through these bolt holes. So that's why I'm going to leave them. You won't see them with the aluminum piece on, but if we need them, then they're there. But these two I'm going to weld up, and then we have a little bit of a break here. I'm going to weld that break closed as well. So let's do that real quick. So I kind of thought about it last night after I called it a night with this. And I think instead of priming the whole inside of this grill, I think that we're going to get it all prepped out, and we're going to prime what needs to be primed on the inside. And then they'll just get painted from there. And instead of prepping this whole thing out and then priming it and having to prep the entire thing out again, for something that, you know, you're not even really going to see, I think that's a lot of unnecessary work. Now, I'm not just going to paint over garbage. I mean, if it needs to be repaired, then we'll get it repaired. But I don't see a need to, sand this whole thing down multiple times. I would rather just sand it down once and then just sand down what needs to be sanded down and call it a day there. So I did a little test just to see how things come out. So, this is what we're working with. Now, I've hit stuff with grinders and whatnot. We got, little lightweight filler there from doing our body work. A lot of dirt, a lot of grime, a lot of grease. Just, all around, just ages and ages of use. So this side over here, what I did was I took a red scuff pad, some paper towel, and my pre-cleaner. My pre-cleaner that I use is this stuff here. I just get that from my local paint shop. All paint shops carry different supplies, but that's the one that mine carries. And I just, I hosed it down and started scrubbing it clean and scuffing at the same time using the red scuff pad. Then, of course, I went in where we have hit it with the grinder for whatever reason. I went in with some 180 and we just sanded those out. And that's what I'm talking about, like, we'll prime this here, which will get some primer in our little spots over here. We'll prime this here. And we'll call it a day at that. So, I'll kind of show you guys. I'm not going to make you guys watch, like, me scrub this entire entire grill clean, but I'll just kind of show you, you know, how I did the other side there. Just set up back in the thing here. So just hosing it down with this stuff. This is that stuff that I showed you was in the can. So you can see how much it just cleaned that area with just, you know, what was that, you know, 30 seconds of me just, you know, hitting that little area. Now I probably spent 20 minutes scrubbing and cleaning and hitting with 180 over there. So, you know, this is going to take time. When we start getting into the, you know, the fins of this grill, and, you know, we're getting down into, you know, this area and this, like, this is going to take me some time. I'm going to have hours into scrubbing this thing clean. And that's why I'm kind of opting out of priming the entire thing, because, you know, for the inside of a piece that you're never gonna see, I mean, you might see 10% of it when the hood's open. When the hood's open, 10%. So I can't see spending 12 hours, you know, getting this scuffed, sanded, primed, and then scuffed and sanded again, just for us to paint it. And, you know, I'm saying I'm probably going to have 6 hours into scrubbing this clean, and then you prime it, and you know, you're going to have, you know, maybe you won't have another 6 hours into it, but you'll probably have another 3 or 4 into it. So I just, you know, I just don't see a point in doing that for something that you're not going to see. You know, like I said, there, you know, there's some areas. I know down in here we got some rust, so we're gonna have to sandblast that, and we're gonna have to prime that. You know, there might be a couple of spots inside these fins that, you know, might need a little bit more than just a scrubbing, but, you know, we'll see after we get it all scrubbed up and scuffed up. So I'm gonna tilt you guys back down, and I'm gonna continue on with scrubbing and cleaning this. And then once we're done with this side, I'm gonna shut you guys down, and I'll continue on with the rest of it, and we'll be back, you know, when it's all scrubbed and clean. So, you know, like I said, this is gonna take me hours to do, and I'm not gonna video all of it. You guys don't want to sit here for hours watching me scuff something. So, but you guys can kind of see how I do it, how I'm getting it done. Alright, so that's how I'm doing it. Now, you know, I'll go through, now that we got this kind of cleaned, like, you know, you can still see, you know, you can still see some dirty areas in here. So, you know, I'll go in, I'll hit that area again, You know, you can see that there's a little dirt around this blinker pocket. So, you know, I'll go around, I'll hit that again. You know, I'll hit all the nooks and crannies and corners again. You know, we'll go through with the 180. You know, I'm just doing this by hand, where our grinding marks are, or our sanding marks from working on the sides here. So I'll probably hit this a little bit more. I'll grab a fresh piece. You can see my sandpaper's kind of gunked up, but I've still been working on it. I got everything all scuffed up except for this lower bottom section, so we're getting ready to do that. I coated our welds that we did up here, even though you're not going to see them. I still coated them, just so if that cover gets pulled off, it looks decent underneath the cover. I recoated inside here because I could still feel it. I sanded too much off, so I just put that stuff on. So while that dries, let's continue to clean this up here, or down here, down below. Okay, well, we're still out here on this grill. As you guys can see, it's hanging behind me. I got the inside all cleaned up. I got sandblasted what I wanted to sandblast. I actually I did some body work on the outside here. I had actually forgot about that, and I had this hanging up. I had primer in the gun, and I went to go start and seen that I forgot about some stuff. As soon as I seen it, I remembered it. I knew that I had to take care of it. What it is there's this tray that goes in between the grill and the bumper. It's like a filler piece that goes in there. And from over the years of that filler piece rubbing up against the grill, there was actually grooves worn in. So I had to fill those in real quick. But we're ready to go. Like I said, I got primer in the gun. I'm just gonna prime what needs to be primed in here, and then we're gonna prime the outside. Whatever gets in there gets in there. For the most part, you know, the inside's good to go, other than, you know, our little body work spots. You know, we're gonna have to go in there and sand those spots and re-scuff some stuff, but you know, we're not gonna prime everything in there, but whatever blows in there, and we'll deal with it later. So I'm gonna kick the compressor on and we'll start putting some primer on here. Okay, we got a coat on it. I'm gonna kick on the heat, let it sit up for a little bit. Kick on the heat, let it set up for a little bit. I'll be back when it's all primed. See you guys in a bit. Okay, we got her all primed up. It looks good. I'm happy with it. Got plenty of coats on there. I think there's 5 on the front. I think there's 4 on the inside. So, and the only reason that I put that many coats on the front, down here along this front, like right underneath where the hood would sit, there was a bunch of rust pits there. There was some rust pits around this. Now this gets a light here, you'll never see it, but I was trying to get enough in there to sand it smooth. We did our body work up here on the corners, and it looks like I missed a little something right here that should have been body worked. So I made sure that, you know, I made sure that we had enough primer on here that we can block all that stuff out. So yeah, it looks good. I'm happy with it. Been out here for a couple hours already, just sandblasting. I ran over these fenders again just real quick. Well, one of them, this one, with the sandblaster. Now I'm gonna run over it with the wire wheel, maybe the burnishing tool, some 80 grit DA, and get this thing all cleaned up and ready to start putting some lightweight filler on it. Like I said, I don't know how long we'll be out here. Or not lightweight filler, I'm sorry. We're going to be doing Marglass over our welded areas. Maybe we'll get that coated on tonight. I don't know. You know, there's definitely you know, there's some time invested in just getting them cleaned up. So let's just see how far we get. We left off yesterday with wire wheeling everything. We kind of ran over it with the sandblaster again, and then wire wheeled everything. And now I'm gonna start DAing with some 80 grit and hopefully get maybe some of the welds coated with some Duraglass. So we'll have to see how things go. Don't know how long I'll be out here, but let's see what we can get done in the short period of time I'm out here. just hammering out where the bolts bolt up into the bottom of the rocker. I know it's going to pull them up again, but I don't want, when we put filler on there, I don't want it to build up excess amounts of filler around that area, and then when you go to bolt it up, it just cracks. So we'll knock it down flat so that there won't be really anything there. The only thing that's really there that we got to take care of is some pitting. So, you know, I think we'll just put a light coat to fill in those pits, and then the rest will just be primer, and then shouldn't have any issues when you go to bolt it up. But with the way that they were puckered up, we would have ended up with a lot of filler around there trying to level that thing out for no reason, and it would have just caused problems. So we'll hammer those out. I know I've hammered them out before and they just buckled again when I bolted it up. Alright, we're back out here on the Jeep this morning. We left off with putting some Marglass over the welds. I remember I shut off the camera, said I was going to get some paper towels, and I did. I went and got paper towels, and I cleaned my fingers and the spreader off, and I ended up making a little bit more, and I ended up coating our little spring or shock pocket here, and I put some on some of the pitting that's down on the lower dog leg of the fender that runs under the rocker there. So we're back out here today. We're going to sand down this Marglass. We're going to use some tools to do that. I say it in videos all the time. You know, when I finish off stuff, I use either, you know, the longboard, and then, or I use my air file to get everything nice and flat, and then I'll come back by hand and I'll, you know, finish it off, you know, that way. But when it comes to the Marglass, like, just rough it in, knock it down, you know, get it down as quick as possible, because it's the undercoat, it's not the final product. So I'm not going to waste time going in and hand sanding all this stuff. We're going to knock it down with some tools, and then we'll come back with we'll see, there's probably a couple of spots that I need to hit again, some spots that I just ran short on, and then we'll be able to jump over to some lightweight fillers. So air file and DA 80 grit on both. Alright, of it's coming up pretty good. We will be back to spread some lightweight filler, and I'll see you guys back here shortly. It'll just be 2 seconds for you. Alright, I still got some sanding to do on this thing, but I got sidetracked. As I was sanding this stuff in here, I realized that there was a huge dent that was protruding out. Now, I don't know if you guys have seen some of our previous videos. If not, go back and check them out. But there used to be this brace that was welded in right here. It was welded in along the top right here, and it was welded in across here. And it was something that was supposed to mount to the firewall, and it wasn't even close to reaching the firewall. Like, it was like this far away. So I talked to the owner of the truck. He said, just cut it out, get rid of it. Well, you know, come to find out later on down the road, that there's actually a part that's supposed to be on the firewall that connects with this, and that part that's supposed to be on the firewall is missing on this truck. Somebody had already cut it off. So we got rid of this inner structure that was in there, and there must have been at some point in time some force put down on that that brace that was in there that actually dented this section of the truck out, and I never caught it before. I just caught it now as we were in there sanding, and I pushed on it from the outside, and it was tin canned. It said da-dunk, da-dunk. So what I did was I just used my normal torch. This guy, turned down really low so that it was just a little flame coming out. And I heated it from the other side. You can see my 3 heat marks. Originally I just tried to heat it and cool it. And it got rid of the tin can, but there was still a hump there. There was still the dent protruding out. So what I did was I came back into this one, the bigger mark. I heated it up to where it was red hot, and I smoked it with the hammer. And what that did was it pushed the dent the opposite direction. So instead of the dent protruding on the outside, it was now protruding on the inside. Then I take my dolly from the back side, I put my dolly here, and I hammered on the outside, and I hammered around the outside of that dent that we just created in there. And then once I got that all hammered, I went around the dent, and then I cooled it with a wet rag. And no more tin canning, and no more dent. It's gone. So I forgot to turn on the camera once again when I'm doing something that I find is cool. Most people, they don't use torches like this to do heat shrinking like that. They usually use an actual torch set with like a pencil tip style torch where the flame, you know, the flame's long, but it's super thin, fine flame, and you can concentrate it in an area like, you know, this big. So you can see I concentrated it by turning that down really low. Takes a little while for it to get heated up. When you're using a real torch, like, it's instant. But using those, you can still do it. It's doable. And yeah, so a couple little heat spots, smoked it with the hammer, hammered and dollied it out, then I cooled it, and voila, the dent is gone. It is nice and straight. I'm happy with it. Sorry I didn't turn on the camera. Just figured I'd turn it on now and let you guys know, so that when I do turn the camera back on later and you guys see these blue marks that look like Mickey Mouse on there, you're not like, hey, what's going on? those weren't there before. So anyways, got that done. I still got to sand down this lower dog leg, which we're probably going to come back after lunch and do that. It's lunchtime. So I will see you guys then, or maybe after it's sanded I'll see you guys, so that we can start you know, what I consider actual body work. Marglass is part of body work, but like I said, it's just kind of the underside stuff that you don't really see. So I'll see you guys back here in a little bit. I spent I spent a few hours out here yesterday on it. I told you, you know, day before yesterday was a holiday, so we've just kind of, you know, winding down from everything. But spent a few hours on it yesterday, and I've been out here for a couple hours tonight, and I'm still working on the Duraglass part, coating welds and everything like that. I told you that, you know, I was gonna keep working on that stuff, and when we were getting ready to do lightweight filler, I'd turn you guys back on. Not that I squirreled or I sidetracked, but you know, we were working on the outside of everything. You know, like, you know, all this stuff, like, you know, everywhere that there was welds or bad rust pitting, we've been coating that. Well, you know, the inside needs to be done too. You know, we're not going crazy in body work and everything. This is getting a bed liner in here. So it's a heavy texture. It doesn't have to be perfect. I just wanted to coat the welds so that you don't, you know, there's no chance of seeing them in the bed liner. So you know, so I've got that stuff coated. You can see I've coated a couple of spots and already sanded them down. And pretty much like stuff like that, it's when I had something left over from the other stuff that I was working on, I came in here and I spread that around. Here there was a good dent in here that we had hammered out. Like, this was really crushed in before, and we hammered everything out. So, you know, it had its hammer marks in there and whatnot. So, you know, we were taking extra and putting it there. I coated this. Now, if you guys remember, we had a cut right through here that it got a full weld all the way through. And then we had this area that was, you know, all stretched out that we did that shrinking in. So, you know, that's good. Our weld got coated, and I coated the shrink area just because I was already there with the Duraglass. And I'm waiting for the inside to dry. Some of this is dry. Like, this stuff over here is dry. But this stuff up here, I just put like that stuff on, like, I don't know, 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago. So we're still waiting for that stuff to fully dry before, you know, I go and sand on the inside. And that stuff on the inside there, I'm gonna DA it out with 80 grit, and it is what it is. Like, we're not putting lightweight filler over it. We're not gonna go in there and sand it by hand. Like I said, it's getting bedlined in there. I just didn't want you to see, you know, a line of where we had welded. So, not that you would have, but I feel safer just, you know, coating it. I'm just weird like that. But I think this corner that we did the heat shrinking on yesterday, I'm gonna apply a coat of lightweight filler there. So I turned you guys on, kind of filled you in with what was going on, where we were, and we'll put a coat of lightweight filler on, and hopefully, you know, while that's drying, I can go in and I can start DAing some of the inside. Stay away from the areas that I just coated, but we can start sanding some of the other stuff while this is curing out here. Okay, back over here, got a little lightweight filler. get this mixed up. Trying to very carefully slip into this crack and start our spread in there. If you guys go back and look at other videos, there was a lot of rust in between these two spots that we sandblasted out, and there was a lot of pits in there that we need to get filled. Now, I hate doing work in little areas like that because it is super hard to get in there and you know, sand it. So we gotta try and do it nicely and cleanly and not fill this line with filler. And you know, we're gonna have to, you know, fold a piece of sandpaper and go in there by hand and lightly sand everything. Not the funnest of areas to work on when you're doing stuff like this. We'll let this cure up. It looks like I kept most of it out of that crack. And I'm gonna grab a DA and start DAing some of that stuff on the inside there. Kind of boring work, not much to video there. So I'll see you guys back here in a little bit, and you know, maybe we'll video sanding this piece and see how it comes out. You know, it's such a little corner of an area, but it's such an important piece because this is what mounts up to the cab of the truck. So it needs to be nice, it needs to be straight. Like I said, it's just an important piece, and unfortunately there was a lot of work done on this little piece. So yeah, so we'll keep going, and you know, we'll keep getting some stuff done here, and one day this fender will be done. Hopefully one day very soon. Cleaned up a little bit since the last time you guys seen me. So we're still out here working on the Jeep. You know, we've been working on this fender. You guys seen me spread this stuff the last time. And there was some sanding to do in here. So we got all that sanded down. Like I said, I'm not too worried about everything in here because it's getting bed lined. I just wanted to get something over the top of the welds. So I kind of cleaned up the shop a little bit. You know, that guy used to be here, and we had our bead roller there, which is sitting over there now, just sitting in the corner. Like I said, I don't have any plans of needing it, and if I do, I'll just, you know, I'll set it back up. But got the hood set up. Excuse me. So I got the hood set up, and you know, we sandblasted the hood, we got everything all cleaned up, we got the inside body worked out, we got it primed, that looks all good. Now we got to start on the outside, and from sitting in the corner for, I don't know, the last month, you know, we're starting to get a couple of hot spots. Got a little bit up here, you know, there's a little bit in this area. There's some along the back in a couple of spots. So I'm gonna start with wire wheeling. We'll sandblast around the welds and we'll re-DA everything out and we'll get some Marglass put on it. And my hopes with, you know, kind of moving stuff around and getting the hood set up is that I can work between the two. You know, we can spread a coat of filler on the fender and then sand on the hood, and then, you know, get the hood coated and then jump back to the fender and sand that, and be able to bounce through the two and hopefully get two things done in the same amount of time. So I've said it before in other videos, I don't like multitasking because I find myself getting too many things going at one time, and then I get stuck, I get lost. It just seems like it takes me longer than it would if I just focused on one thing at a time. But I'm gonna give it a go. We're gonna try and just bounce between two things and go from there. So I got the wire wheel guy out. Let's start cleaning this guy back up, and we'll go from there. So I don't know if I've talked about this yet with the Jeep, but I purchased these barrels off of Amazon. You get two for the same price as what the Harbor Freight one costs. Harbor Freight, it's 40 bucks for one. Amazon, it's 40 bucks for two. I had read through the reviews on it, and people were saying that you have to modify the shield to fit these, which I did not. It fit on there without modification. It was close, but I didn't have to modify anything. I was able to put them on. But it falls apart when you're using it. It shoots big giant chunks everywhere, which I'm not a fan of. And then because it's missing giant chunks out of it, it's cleaning in patches, which the Harbor Freight one does not do that. The Harbor Freight one, like when you make a pass, like it's a nice clean strip the width of this, where these are not doing that, and I'm not super impressed with them. I think it's worth spending the 40 bucks at Harbor Freight to get one that works better. So I don't think I'll be purchasing these again unless I'm broke and can't afford, you know. This time I just wanted to try them and see how they were, and I'm just not super impressed with them. So another thing that I would say with these two, it may just be because it's not, you know, making full contact because of all the chunks missing out of it, but it doesn't seem like it has the grit that Harbor Freight does. So I don't know. I just like the Harbor Freight ones better. That's my opinion. Okay, as you can see, we're out here working on this fender. Told you we'd get a coat over there and jump over to the fender, so here we are. I think that feels pretty good. I think we can put it in 180. We need to do a little work on this top section here, but other than that, I think it looks pretty good. This bottom dog leg over here, I might hit with the air file. If you remember when we were putting it on, it started to harden up on us, so so it's not a pretty coat to try and make something out of. All right, I'm going to I'm gonna get some filler mixed up, and we're gonna put some lightweight filler. And we'll coat as much as we can with what we make up. Try our darndest to keep it out of the crack there, and then we'll move back over to the hood. Sorry, sanding that. So need to put a little bit up here. That's what I was talking about. Get that straightened out. So I'll be back when I get some filler mixed up. Okay. Well, we got everything coated except for this round part, and I kind of need to flip this fender around or prop it up somehow so that I can get to it. So we'll do that after this sets up a little bit or something, or after we get it sanded. I'll probably, once it starts to set up, I'll figure something out. So I'm gonna clean up my mess, and we'll start sanding on that hood. Alright, my tool froze up, so I'm going to give that a few minutes to thaw out. You guys can see what I'm doing here, and you can see that it's taking some time. So I could use my mud hog and just mud hog all this out. I'm trying to do it with that so that it's a little straighter. But anyways, I'll check back in with you guys when we're ready to move on to the next step with this. Once I get this all sanded down, we're going to start applying lightweight filler. And I think I'm going to start with the center section. We'll do from the body line to the body line here. We'll get this all coated and worked out, and then once I'm happy with that, we'll move to the sides. So, but yeah, I'll see you guys back here in a bit. Okay, I got some filler out here on the hood. I'm gonna get it mixed up. We're gonna spread it out. Like I said, I'm just gonna work on the center right now. I know it looks like I'm putting a lot on, but I promise you 75% of this gets sanded off. So this is just what I do to make it straight. Try my darndest to get it in one coat. Never works, but I can try. Snagging them on everything. These pants are falling apart. I mean, I got nothing but rips in them and just keep snagging them every time I move. Let's hope that works out well for us. Okay, I'm going to explain a little more of what I'm doing here. If you've seen my previous videos like the Monte Carlo, I've explained this on that. If you haven't watched those, or maybe you're new to the channel, when I'm sanding this, I'm trying to sand this whole piece as a whole. Now on this particular piece, we're okay that I'm just working on this half at the moment, because there's a slight peak down the center and it gets a hood ornament that goes the whole length of the hood down. So we're okay to work this half and then jump over there and work that half. but you don't want to work on just this area and get this area sanded down and done and then move to this area, because then when you're working on this area, you're hitting this area still and you're double sanding an area in here, and you're gonna end up with a dip in there. That's how you get waves when you see a car that's been body worked not so well and it's wavy. It's because they're working one area at a time and then moving to the next, instead of working the whole panel at one time. They're concentrating on one area, getting that one done, moving to the next, and it'll give you lines in your work. So you always want to work the whole panel at one time. If this didn't have this little peak in here and getting a hood ornament, we'd be wanting to work this whole hood all at one time. You wanna level everything out all at once. So hopefully that makes sense and you guys understand that. Okay, so you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm working just back and forth. This is gonna take a little while. This doesn't happen like that. It takes some time. Like I said before, don't try and rush it. Just let the machine do the work and just keep going. It'll probably take me a half hour or so to sand down this piece. When you start hitting metal, like there's a low spot still right here. If you start hitting metal here and this low spot is still there, you're never going to get rid of that low spot because you're not going to sand away the metal. You can continue sanding away filler until this low spot is gone, but once you're hitting metal, you can't go any farther. The metal's going to stop you from going any farther. So then you know that spot is still too low and needs to be coated again. So we're starting to run into that up here at the front. So I'm hitting metal here and I'm hitting metal here, and we still have a big low spot right here. So this, I can almost guarantee is going to need another coat. If we were to continue to sand this down to where that was gone, there's gonna be still a low spot there that'll show up in your paintwork when you're done with the vehicle. So, being that I'm hitting here and here, I can tell you right now that this is still too low. If you remember, this hood had been folded over at one point in time. Right through here is where the brace is underneath the hood. So I couldn't get underneath to hammer and dolly it. We pin pulled it, we hammered what we could, but I could not get to the back side of this here. So I knew that there was a low spot here. We did coat it with the Marglass prior to us doing it, but it was still low. So we'll have to come back and we'll have to recoat this to get it straight. But I'll show you that as the video goes on. But for right now, I'm gonna keep sanding on this. I'm gonna shut you guys down because nobody wants to watch me sand this hood for the next hour or half hour. So when we get this hood to where I can't go any farther with it, I'll kick you guys back on I'll show you guys where we're at, what I'm seeing, what needs to be done. And then, you know, I'll continue on with the other side. We'll get that side sanded down. I won't video that. I'll bring you guys back when the whole hood is ready to do the next step. But when I get this side to where I know I can't go any farther with it, I'll show you guys where we're at. Okay, so I've been sanding on this. Like I said, I probably got about a half hour into this. And I'll show you guys what's going on. So you can see here, we're hitting a little bit of metal in a couple of spots. This dark stuff under here is Marglass or Duraglass. You've seen us put that on already if you watched the previous video. This is metal. So once you hit metal, like I said, you can't sand any farther. So you can see that there's a low spot still right here. So this low spot still needs to be coated again. And if you come up here to the front, I showed you guys we were hitting metal here and here. Now you can see that we're starting to hit metal here. And we still have a low spot right here. So that needs to be coated again. So through here, feels pretty good. You can see we're hitting metal along this edge. So we're not going to be able to go any farther because we're hitting metal. We're starting to hit metal in these bowl holes. Now these bowl holes are kind of, I told you there's a hood ornament that goes here, it gets bolted down. The metal is puckered in those areas from being bolted down. So there's really not a lot you can do about these. We hammered and dollied all these out before we primed the inside of the hood. So those are what they are. You can't really do too much about those. You can see we haven't broken through on the back side too here. We got a big low spot there. We're not gonna break through those two. So, but these up here, this one we didn't break through that one either because this is where all the damage was. This hood was damaged through here. This was all folded around. And it was also damaged along the back from being shoved into the firewall cowl area of the vehicle. So it was damaged there, damaged there. I knew that there was going to be low spots there. Actually, in the beginning of the video, I had actually explained that, you know, if you're sanding and you start hitting metal, and I'm actually going around in this area, like I knew that this area was going to be problematic along with the front. So not problematic, but I knew that it was going to need a little more work to make it straight. Another thing, when you're doing a hood like this, now not just like this, I mean any hood, when you have this thing sitting on the stand, make sure that the stand is sitting on the braces. If you're not sitting on the brace, like put a 2x4 or something underneath here so that it's across the brace. Now luckily we had this hood, it just barely fits on this stand from brace to brace. But you know, some of the more modern hoods, they have like X braces that go through, and they have these little triangle of open areas. Like, make sure that the brace isn't sitting in one of those open areas where it's actually sitting on the sheet metal of the hood, because it'll cause the brace to push up on that spot of the hood. And, you know, you'll end up sanding through to bare metal there thinking that there is a high spot there. But as soon as you take the hood off of the stand, that high spot disappears. Because it's only there from it sitting on that stand. So, you know, make sure when you have stuff like this sitting on your stands that it is on the bracing. That it is not on the sheet metal, because it'll mess you up in the end. And you know, you won't even know it. You'll just think that there's, like I said, a high spot in the hood, and you'll keep doing all your body work around it. And then when you take the hood off of the, you know, you'll think it's nice and straight, and then you take your hood off of the stand, and now you have a low spot in the hood because that stand was pushing the metal up. So, you know, just be cautious of that when you're doing this stuff, of where it is sitting on the stand. So, and like I said, if you got to put a 2x4 across, or you know, something along those lines, you know, a piece of plywood that fits the stand perfectly that you're sitting the hood on, you know, and just make sure that a corner of the plywood isn't pushing up on the metal either. So it's just something to look into. Now, you know, running my hand across this, you know, it feels pretty good in this area here, but I definitely, you know, I can feel that this is a big low spot. There's a smaller low spot here. There's a small low spot right here. I can feel that stuff. I've been doing this for a long time, and I was actually full-time in a collision shop. So I would build custom cars, you know, after hours, but, you know, during the day, you know, 40, 50 hours a week, I did collision work. So in my hand, like, I don't have to look at anything. I can run my hand across this and I can feel where everything is. If you have a hard time feeling where everything is, use a paper towel. Put a paper towel between your hand and the panel, and it acts as like a magnifying glass for your fingers. So when you're rubbing your hand across it, you feel more through the paper towel than you would if it was just your hand on here. Sometimes I have to do this as well, because sometimes I feel so much, and then when it gets to the point to where I can't feel anything anymore, and a lot of times when I'm working with power tools, my hands go numb. But I'll grab a paper towel and I'll run over it, and, you know, something that I might not feel with just my hand, I pick it up with this. So it's just a little tip for you guys, you know, who don't know body work all that well, or learning, or new to my channel. You know, just a little pointer, I guess, for you guys. So now I'm gonna jump over here and I'm gonna sand that side, and I'm gonna shut you guys down while I do that, because no need for you guys to, like I said, watch hours of me sanding filler. But I try and stop in between and show you guys what's going on, and explain where I'm at, what I'm doing, what I see, what I feel, everything to try and help, you know, people who are trying to learn to do this stuff. Another thing, when I was sanding, you guys were watching me sand like this with the tool. You guys see me have the tool like this, and I was working back and forth. I do go this way, I do go that way, I do run it this way. You don't want to work in just one direction, because if you have a high spot that's this way, when you're running like this, you're just going right over that high spot, and you might not know it. So that's why you want to turn it on an angle and go this way, so that you're going across the high spot, and, you know, going straight across this way. I was riding from this peak to this peak and trying to level it out this way as well. So I don't just go one direction. I work it in all. They say that you want to, like, work in cross hatch. So, like, you want to hatch it this way. Hatch is your scratch marks. So you want to hatch it this way, and then come back and hatch it and go across your grain. You'll see me do that when I break out the hand block. So when I'm using this hand block, so this is like 220 on here. Once we get this thing all straight and flat and I'm happy with it, I'll use this 220 to go across and take out the 80 grit scratch that we have in there. And you'll see me going this way, and then you'll see me going this way. So that's the cross hatch. You know, you'll maybe see me going like this, and then you'll see me going like this, like I'm doing a cross hatch in it. So, and that just kind of reassures, like I said, if there's something in the hood this way, and you're going this way with it, you're just working with that unlevel area. So that's why you want to come in and you want to go this way, because then you're high-sided on that high spot. You know, you can see right here where we're hitting metal, like we're high-sided here. So so that's why you want to go all different directions with it. You don't want to just stick with one direction. Not the music group. But yeah, so that's just kind of, you know, some of the things that I'm pointing out that maybe you didn't catch because I wasn't videoing it. So different directions, cross hatch, watch for your high spots, watch for your low spots, use a paper towel to feel it. So I'm gonna sand the other side over there, and we're gonna get that side sanded down. I'll show you again what we're seeing over there once I get that sanded down. And then after that, like I know that there's a low spot here, here, and here. We'll come in and we'll just coat these areas. Now, you can't leave it at that point. I'm sure I'll explain further as we go, because now that we have a fresh coat of filler in a few spots here, when you're going to sand that, you're going to be sanding what you've already sanded, so it's getting sanded twice. And like I said in just earlier in the video of why you don't want to work in one area, because you're going to be sanding an area twice and you're going to end up with the low spot in your hood. It's going to be the same thing when we fill in these low spots. We're going to be sanding the area around it double time. It's going to be twice sanded. So you're going to end up with a low ring around that area that you just coated and sanded. So as I was explaining at the beginning of the video, that I was hoping we could maybe get this done in one shot, but doubtful. This is the process of the doubtful situation. Low spots, take care of them. We'll sand those down. That's going to create a ring around it. Then we'll come back, we'll recoat everything again. And if I coat this, and if I coat these low spots and we sand them down and there's still low spots, then we got to coat those low spots again. We got to coat them down until we get this sanded down and you don't see the low spots. Now at that point, you're gonna feel something funky going on, because you're double sanding the areas around it. You're gonna feel something funky, but you want to visibly not be able to see that low spot. When you have a uniform sanded area, you know you're close, and then you can come back with your next coat. We left off on the hood, and I put guide coat down so that you guys could see a little easier, like where the low spots are. So we got this all sanded down and ready to go, but you can see that there's some low spots there. You can see that there's a low spot up in the front, same spot as the other side. So, but the rest of it's looking pretty good. But I put that guide coat on there to show you guys, you know, a little easier in the video, because I showed you guys on the other side, but I don't know how well the video picks that up. So I figured this time I would put some guide coat on there, and it would stand out more for you guys to see. And then it also it's not something that I normally do. I normally don't guide coat filler, but I got to kind of see, you know, how this hood was looking with putting the guide coat on. So it feels pretty good. But I could tell you right now, like when I was sanding it, like it definitely needs another coat. So, but right now, what I'm gonna do is we're gonna blow this hood off, and I'm gonna coat all the low spots. And then I think we're gonna move over to the fender, and we're gonna start sanding on the fender. It is pretty late. It's 9 o'clock. You know, I've told you guys before, I try not to make too much noise past 10 o'clock. I do have neighbors, so but I figure, you know, if we could start sanding on that fender, that would be good. So we'll get this coated, and then we'll start sanding on that fender. So I'll be right back when I have some filler mixed up, ready to go. Okay, I'm gonna kind of squirrel here for a minute. I decided not to sand. There is this like bracket that is tacked in. There's a tack here, 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 and here. And it has a couple of rust holes in there. I fixed the other one on the other fender. And this one we didn't know we had until we sandblasted the fender. The other one was rotted out and gone. We knew that one was bad. We had cut it out, sandblasted behind it, painted behind it, put the piece back in after it was repaired. And this one, we didn't find out till, I don't know, it was whenever we sandblasted these fenders, a couple months ago. And I just keep forgetting about it. So, my buddy was over here that owns the truck a couple days ago, and he was looking at it, and it kind of seemed like he wanted it fixed. So I'm gonna go ahead and fix it. I wasn't sure. I was kind of thinking maybe just put a little thing of seam sealer there. Nobody would see it. It's getting, you know, bed lined. You know, I was trying to get out of fixing it, but we're just gonna go ahead and fix it. I fixed everything else, might as well fix that. So I'm gonna drill these spot welds out and get this piece out of here. Okay, so, you know, we can see that this is rusty back there. I knew it was going to be, because I already did the other side. Other side I think was actually worse than this side. And we have some rot in there, and a couple of these spots in here that I'm seeing look like we're probably gonna break through. On the other fender, I had to cut part of this out and put a new patch in. So I have a feeling we're gonna be doing the same thing here. It's a good thing that we did pull that out. As much as I didn't want to do it, I knew that I was going to be. but it wouldn't have been long before that would have poked through to the outside. So especially since we were messing around with it, sandblasting this side and getting it all cleaned up. We had sandblasted some of the inner structure because it was going through these holes, so we had disturbed stuff in there, so it wouldn't have been long. So what I'm gonna do now, unfortunately, I'm not gonna film getting this stuff sandblasted. So I don't know, I gotta take this over into the booth and we gotta get that sandblasted and cleaned up and get that little piece sandblasted and cleaned up. Fortunately, this does not fit in my sand cabinet. So, but my sandblast cabinet is actually disassembled at the moment because I needed parts from that to make our little tent area blaster work because that one broke. But anyway, so let's see, what time is it? It's almost 10 o'clock. So I think I'm just gonna call it a night here, and we'll work on getting this sandblasted. Hopefully in the morning. We'll see how tomorrow goes. I think we're gonna have to run out and get some more kerosene. And it is snowing pretty good out right now. Everything's covered. And I haven't really looked at the weather, but I've seen some Facebook messages that it's supposed to snow all night. So we'll have to see what the weather's like tomorrow. May not be able to run out till later in the afternoon when everything's cleaned up. So, but anyways, I will see you guys a little bit later. Little shorter night than what I wanted. But I knew, coming out here at 8 o'clock was going to be, actually I think it was later than 8 o'clock. I don't think I got out here till like 8:45. I knew that it was going to be a short night. So, but at least we got something done. We got the lid coated. We got this guy drilled out. So tomorrow's another day. I will see you guys then. Have a good night. Remember to like, subscribe, share, leave a comment. I'm out.